You're looking at one of the most wanted men on the planet. He's a playboy, a con man, and the alleged mastermind of a heist so massive it actually toppled a government. His name is Jho Low, and he's accused of stealing billions. For years, he's been a ghost. But what happens when that ghost picks up the phone? Well, we're about to find out, because we have the tapes.
You know, this quote from an investigator on the case, it just perfectly captures the sheer audacity of it all. It's such a simple way to think about a crime that was, believe me, anything but simple. But we're not talking about just any bank job here.
Because that's exactly what happened. This is the incredible story of a global fugitive who, from some secret hideout, literally picked up the phone to try and bargain his way to freedom. So we're going to break down exactly what he said using a series of exclusive recordings that you've never heard before.
So back in 2018, right as this entire political house of cards he'd built was collapsing, Jho Low starts making a series of phone calls to the new Malaysian government. And these recordings, well, they give us this incredible, unprecedented look inside the mind of a man trying to talk his way out of the world's biggest fraud.
But before we can really get into those calls, we kind of have to back up. We need to understand the crime itself. Like, what even was 1MDB? And how on earth do you steal billions of dollars from an entire country? It's a story of amazing ambition, powerful connections, and just staggering corruption.
On paper, 1MDB sounded great. It was what's called a sovereign wealth fund, set up by Prime Minister Najib Razak. The whole idea was to make strategic investments that would help the people of Malaysia. But, as the U.S. Department of Justice would later lay out, it seems a few corrupt officials decided to treat this public fund like their own personal piggy bank.
And what a piggy bank it was. The total amount that was siphoned out of this fund, it's just staggering. $4.5 billion. No, that is not a typo. It's one of the largest financial frauds the world has ever seen. Just let that number sink in.
So how did he pull it off? How do you even do something like this? Well, it started pretty simply. First, Jho Low, who is this master networker, got in tight with the Prime Minister's family. Then he started setting up these huge, complicated deals, like a massive joint venture with a Saudi company. The only problem, the money never actually went to the joint venture. In the very first deal, $700 million was diverted straight to a Swiss bank account that Jho Low controlled. And believe me, that was just the beginning.
And where did that $4.5 billion go? Well, this is where the story gets absolutely wild. It funded a lifestyle of unbelievable, almost comical luxury. We're talking a $250 million mega yacht, a massive pink diamond for the Prime Minister's wife Rasma, and, get this, it even helped finance the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. You can't make this stuff up. The people's money was being blown on parties with Hollywood superstars.
Look, a scandal this big, this blatant, it can't stay hidden forever. And when the details finally started to leak, they didn't just expose a crime. They set off a political earthquake that would literally reshape an entire nation.
The consequences came fast, and they were historic. In May of 2018, the people of Malaysia voted Najib Razak's party out of power for the first time in over 60 years. That same month, police raided his homes and found a literal treasure trove of luxury goods. By 2020, Najib himself was convicted and sent to prison. The whole thing had come crashing down.
And that, right there, is when the phone starts to ring. With his political protector heading to jail and a new government in charge, Jho Low makes his move. Just days after those police raids, he starts calling, hoping he can cut some kind of deal to save himself.
This one quote, it tells you his entire game plan. Over and over on these calls, his main argument is that he was just a middleman, an advisor. He pins everything on the former Prime Minister Najib Razak, saying, hey, Najib was the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister. He was the one with the real power.
But here's the thing. His offer was a complete non-starter. Jho Low wanted to give back some assets in exchange for total immunity. No admitting he did anything wrong, no jail time. Malaysia's position? Absolutely not. There would be no plea bargains with criminals. He had to come back and face the charges. I mean, the two sides were on totally different planets.
So to try and sweeten this impossible deal, Low starts spilling secrets. And whoa, this one was a bombshell. He claims that all that jewelry bought for the PM's wife, Rasma, it wasn't just the millions that had been reported. The real number, he said, was over $500 million. And this is where you see just how willing he was to throw everybody under the bus to save his own skin. He points the finger directly at Rosmah's personal shopper, this woman Natasha, and even tells the government how they could go after her to get the truth. To save himself, Jho Low was ready to burn every single one of his former friends and partners.
Okay, so this leads us to the big question you're probably asking right now. If he's so wanted, and everybody knows what he did, how has he not been caught? He's been on the run since 2016. The answer seems to be a tangled web of high-level protection that stretches across the globe.
The thing is, Jho Low isn't just hiding in a basement somewhere. He's being actively protected. He's got multiple passports, he's got powerful friends in places like the UAE, and most importantly, in China. He even has this super sophisticated system set up to launder money just to pay for his multi-million-dollar legal and PR teams. This is a very, very well-equipped fugitive.
And check this out. This gives you a little peek into how that protection network might work. The allegation is that these huge, overpriced infrastructure contracts that Malaysia gave to a Chinese state-owned company were used as a slush fund. The money was then routed through a sheikh in Kuwait to do two things: pay Jho Low's lawyers and even pay back a tiny piece of the debt he created at 1MDB, all while hiding the money trail. It's incredibly complex.
And that protection, well, it seems to be pretty literal. We've got sources in both Malaysia and Macau confirming he's been living in a villa in Macau that's owned by a senior Chinese party official. Now, for the record, the Chinese government officially denies they're protecting him, but these allegations just won't go away.
And so, the hunt goes on. Even with Interpol red notices and arrest warrants from multiple countries, including the US, Jho Low is still a free man. He's a ghost in the system, somehow always one step ahead of the law.
In his final recorded phone call, after trying to bargain, deflect, and betray everyone he knew, Jho Low says this. After masterminding a $4.5 billion fraud that robbed an entire nation, he says he doesn't want to be seen as doing anything bad for Malaysia. The lack of self-awareness is just, it's breathtaking.
Which leaves us with the central nagging question of this entire saga. Jho Low's story is really a test case. It asks whether, in our modern world, if you have enough money and you have powerful enough friends, can you actually place yourself completely beyond the reach of justice? And right now, the answer kind of seems to be yes.
But investigators offer this one final, chilling thought. Right now, Jho Low is useful to the people protecting him. But, as one of them said, all of that usefulness is perishable. It has an expiration date. And one day, the world's most wanted financial fugitive might just find that he's run out of friends, run out of money, and completely run out of time.